did not look for fear, my head would burst in my brains, dribble out of my ears. She stopped brushing, and then I could feel her long, smooth fingers rubbing and searching under my chin, finding the spot that was smooth neck scar. As she rubbed his spot, I became very still. It was as tough. She were rubbing the memory back into my skin. And then her hand dropped and she began to cry, wrapping her hands around her own neck. She cried with a wailing voice that was so sad. And then I remember the dream with my mother's voice. I was 4 years old. My chin was just above the dinner table, and I could see my baby brother sitting on Papa's lap, crying with an angry face. I could hear voices praising a steaming dark soup brought to the table, voices murmuring politely, "Ching ching, please eat." And then the talking stopped. My uncle rose from his chair. Everyone turned to look at the door where a tall woman stood. I was the only one who spoke. "Ma." I had cried, rushing off my chair, but my auntie slapped my face and pushed me back. Now everyone was standing up and shouting, and I heard my mother's voice crying, Anne May, above this noise. Who is this ghost? Not an honor widow, just a number 3 concubine. This was a kind of pain so terrible that a little child should never remember it. But it is still in my skin's memories. I cried out loud, only a little, because soon my flesh began to burst inside and out and cut off my breathing air. I could not speak because of this terrible choking feeling. I could not see because all the tears that poured out to wash away the pain. But I could hear my mother's crying voice. Popo and Auntie were shouting. And then my mother's voice went away. Later that night, Papa's voice came to me. Anne May, listen carefully. Her voice had the same scalding tone she used when I ran up and down the hallway. Anne May, we have made your dyeing clothes and shoes for you. They are all white cotton. I listened, scared. Anne May, she murmured, now more gently. Your dyeing clothes are very plain. They are not fancy because you are still a child. If you die, you will have a short life and you will still owe your family a debt. Your funeral will be a very small. Our mourning time for you will be very short. And then Popo said something that was worse than the burning on my neck. Even your mother has used up her tears and left. If you do not get well soon, she will forget you. Popo was very smart. I came hurrying back from the other world to find my mother. Every night I cried so that both my eyes and my neck burned. Next to my bed sat Popo. She would pour cool water over my neck from the hollowed cup of a large grapefruit. She would pour and pour until my breathing became soft and I could fall asleep. In the morning, Popo would use her sharp fingernails like a tweezers and peel off the dead membranes. In 2 years' time, my scar became pale and shiny, and I had no memory of my mother. This is the way it is with a wound. The wound begins to close in on itself to protect what is hurting so much, and once it is closed, you no longer see what is underneath, what started the pain. I worshipped this mother from my dream, but the woman standing by Popo's bed was not the mother of my memory. Yet, I came to love this mother as well, not because she came to me and begged me to forgive her. She did not. She did not need to explain that Popo chased her out of the house when I was dying. This I knew. She did not need to tell me she married Wu Zing to exchange one unhappiness for another. I knew this as well. Here is how I came to love my mother, how I saw in her my own true nature. What was beneath my skin, inside my bones. It was late night when I went to Popo's room. My auntie said it was Popo's dying time and I must show respect. I put on a clean dress and stood between my aunt and my uncle at the Popo's bed. I cried a little, not too loud. I saw my mother on the other side of the room, quiet and sad. She was cooking a soup, putting herbs and medicine into the steaming pot. And then I saw her pull out her sleeve and pull out a sharp knife. She put this knife on the softest part of her arm. I tried to close my eyes, but I could not. And then my mother cut a piece of meat from her arm. There's poured from her face and blood spilled on the floor. My mother took her flesh and put it in the soup. She cooked a magic in an accent tradition to try cure her mother. This one last time. She opened Popo's mouth, already too tight from trying to keep her spirit in. She fed her this soup, but that night, Popo flew away with her illness. Even though I was young, I I could see the pain of the flesh and the worth of the pain. This is how the daughter honors her mother. It is true, so deep it is in your bones. The pain of the flesh is nothing. The pain you must forget. Because sometimes that is the only way to remember what is in your bones. You must peel off your skin and that of your mother and her mother before her until there is nothing, no scar, no skin, no flesh. Lin Dong Jong, the Red Candle. I once sacrificed my life to keep my parents' promise. This means nothing to you, because to you, promises means nothing. A daughter can promise to come to dinner, but if she has a headache, if she has a traffic jam, if she wants to watch favorite movie on TV, she no longer has a promise. I watched this same movie. When you did not come, the American soldier promises to come back and marry the girl. She is crying. With a gentle feeling, he says, "Promise, promise, honey sweetheart. My promise is as good as gold." Then he pushes her onto the bed, but he doesn't come back. His gold is like yours. It is only 14 carats. To Chinese people, 14 carat isn't real gold. Feel my bracelets. They must be 24 carats, pure inside and out. It's too late to change you, but I'm telling you this because I worry about your baby. I worry that someday she will say, "Thank you, grandmother, for the gold bracelet. I will never forget you." But later, she will forget her promise. She will forget she had a grandmother. In this same war movie, the American soldier goes home and he falls to his knees asking another girl to marry him. And the girl's eyes run back and forth, so shy, as if she had never considered this before. And suddenly, her eyes look straight, and she knows now she loves him so much. She wants to cry. Yes, she says at last, and they marry forever. This was not my case. Instead, the village matchmaker came to my house when I was just 2 years old. Nobody told me this. I remember it all. It was summertime, very hot and very dusty outside, and I could hear cicadas crying in the yard. We were under some trees in our orchard. The servant and my brothers were picking pears high above me, and I was sitting in my mother's hot, sticky arms. I was waving my hand this way and that, because in front of me floated a small girl with the horns and colorful paper thin wings. And then the paper bird flew away, and in the front of me, 2 ladies, I remember them. I was promised to Huang's sons for marriage, my own family began treating me as if I belonged to somebody else. My mother would say to me, when the rice bowl went up to my face too many times, "Look how much Wang Tai-Tai's daughters can eat." My mother did not treat me this way because she didn't love me. She would say this, biting back her tongue. She wouldn't wish for something that was no longer hers. I was actually a very obedient child, but sometimes I had a I have a sour look on my face only because I was hot or tired or very ill. This is when my mother would say, "Such an ugly place. The Womans won't want you, and our whole family will be disgraced." And I would cry more to make my face uglier. "It's no use," my mother would say. "We have made a contract. It cannot be broken." And I would cry even harder. I didn't see my future husband until I was 8 or 9. The world that I knew was our family compound in the village outside of Taiwan. My family lived in a modest 2-story house with a smaller house in the same compound, which was really just 2 side-by-side rooms for our cook, an everyday servant, and their families. Our house sat on a little hill. We called this hill 3 Steps to Heaven, but it was really just century-hardened layers of mud washed up by the Fen River. On the east wall of our compound was the river, which my father said liked to swallow little children. He said it had once swallowed the whole town of Taiwan. The river ran brown in the summer. In the winter, the river was blue-green in the narrow, fast-moving spots. In the wider places, it was frozen still, white with cold. Oh, I can remember the New Year when my family went to the river and caught many fish. Giant slippery creatures flocked while they were still sleeping in their frozen riverbeds, so fresh that even after they were guttered, they would dance on their tails when thrown into a hot pond. That was also the year I first saw my husband as a little boy. When the firecrackers went off, he cried loud, "Wah!" with a big open mouth, even though he was not a baby. Later, I would see him at red egg ceremonies when 1-month-old boy babies were given their real names. He would sit on his grandmother's old knees, although cracking them with his weight, and he would refuse to eat offered to him, always turning his nose away as though someone were offering him a stinky pickle and not a sweet cake. So I didn't have an instant love for my future husband the way you see the television today. I thought of my bodies more like a troublesome cousin. I learned to be polite to the Huangs and especially to Wang Tai-Tai. My mother would push me toward Wang Tai-Tai and say, "What do you say to your mother?" And I would be confused, not knowing which mother she meant. So I would turn to my real mother and say, "Excuse me, ma?" And then I would turn to Wang Tai-Tai and present her with a little goodie to eat, saying, "For you, mother." I remember it was once a lump of swa- swame, a little dumpling I love to eat. My mother told Wang Tai Tai I made this dumpling specially for her, even though I had only puked its steamy sides with my finger when the cook poured it onto the serving plate. My life changed completely when I was 12. The summer, the heavy rains came. The Fen River, which ran through the middle of my family's land, flooded to plains. It destroyed all the wheat my family had planted that year and made the land useless for years to come. Even our house on top of the little hill became unlivable. When he came down from the second story, he saw the floors and the furniture were covered with sticky mud. The courtyards were littered, and uprooted trees began mud. The courtyards were littered, and uprooted trees, broken bits of woods, and dead chickens. We were so poor in all this mess. You couldn't go to an insurance company back then and say, somebody did this damage, pay me $1 million. That's it.